Just now onwards, we have started recording also, so that our folks, the tag team, the technical advisory group, this team people who were not able to attend it today, uh, should be able to go back and then look into the recording. So starting this. Welcome to Regional Decision Maker Dynamic Mapping for Regions, and this is the first webinar in the whole series of webinar we will be presenting in the coming few months. So we are part of Purdue's Office of Engagement, and we are located in Discovery Park in the West Lafayette campus. On your screen, if you see the left-hand side building, the Mann Hall, this is where we are located. The webinar is happening from this location. And on the right-hand side, you can see other research centers, the Nanotechnology Center and Biomedical Sciences Center for the Discovery Park. So the outline for today's talk will be, we will be giving you a bit of background on the University Center grant. This is from the US Economic Development Administration. A little bit of background on clusters, and then local decision maker and regional decision maker projects. And the reason is that in the coming webinars, we will be covering these areas with quite a bit of detail. And then some explanation of the IARC tag team and what will we cover. And then for today, the focus will be on the common toolbox, the toolbox which you will find in almost every application that we are developing here. Every application that we are developing here in the interactive spatial decision support system. So for today's talk, we will be covering those common tools. And then Andre will be explaining you those tools, and he will also be giving you an exercise which you can download and then reply to us. And then we will have few minutes at the end for a question and answer session. So for the EDA University Center grant, what we have is a 5-year grant. And as you know that every state has a university center designated by the Economic Development Administration. For Indiana, it is Purdue Center for Regional Development. And then as part of this university center grant, we are supposed to get a lot of input from local and community decision maker tool and decision makers as we are developing a whole lot of tools as part of this grant cycle. So you might have been familiar with our cluster research. The research was done on industry clusters and occupation clusters, and those were part of the previous EDA grant. So in this grant, what we are doing is all those databases, we are providing those databases through online interactive decision support system. These are a set of online interactive tools that you can use to do your planning analysis, to do your a lot of spatial analysis, and we will be explaining those in detail. So some of the examples that we will be covering in this webinar series is the capacity to do custom regional aggregation. So for example, you have a corridor. For example, if we have a corridor and then you need to look into a corridor-based region, these tools can do those for you. So all you need to do is identify your corridor. It can be I-69, I-31, or any corridor in the nation. And then you can give a buffer area, and then these tools, buffer area, and these tools can start aggregating the underlying data for you. Similarly, for clusters, for demographic, for economic databases, and things like that. Similarly, these custom regional aggregations can be made for county, a group of counties, because regional organizations, they serve several counties together, or you can even select watersheds. Then another idea was to provide some additional data to support entrepreneurship and innovation. And as you know, this as part of the knowledge-based economy, these data sets are increasingly becoming important. So very specific data sets related to entrepreneurship is such as what are those gazelle companies, what are the second stage companies which are in your region. And if you have not heard previously, the second stage companies or firms are a select group of companies which have a very high growth potential. Means they have a potential to grow high, grow in a very higher rate, employ a lot of people, and it is always good to identify those in your region and provide economic development support to them. And similarly, innovation, a lot of data related to R&D expenditures, research and development expenditures, patents, and those things like those things. Then the other set of regional planning databases that we were developing were land use, transportation, natural resources, but the idea is how to connect these elements to economic development, and with the specific data sets such as industry clusters and occupation clusters. And then what are the distribution and supply chain opportunities? So as we are developing these set of tools, it's a whole suite of tools. There are about 10 websites, separate websites, fully functional websites. The idea was to provide training for the IARC members, but then also get their feedback that how they find these tools, whether these are useful, or if we can improve them, or if we can modify them. So because these are still in beta stage, in development stage, so this input will be very useful for us. So a quick background of cluster projects. So industry cluster grant, the first grant we got from EDA was 2005-2007. The whole industry cluster database is now available, and there were three partners: PCRD, IBRC, and SDG. SDG is a consultant. And then the occupation cluster grant was for 2007 to 2009, and then we had developed three specific tools here: occupation cluster definitions for every county in USA, innovation index, and then a regional investment tool. So So to give you a bit of background on LDM, the Local Decision Maker Foundation project, this was the spatial decision support system we had developed previously. This was a grant we got from Center for the Environment in 2006 and onwards. And then this was a consortium of different departments at Purdue University: forestry, PCRD, which Center for Regional Development, our department, agricultural economics, extension, Indiana, Illinois Sea Grant, and then the forestry, the PLUS project, which is land use sustainability project. And then here the idea was to develop an internet-based interactive decision support system and tools for the decision makers. So how it works is, there is a university, and then we have research and extension infrastructure. And then there is a decision support partnership. There are practitioners, planners, analysts, data providers from public as well as private side. And then there is decision maker, the local, state, regional, and even at the federal level. So these tools are supposed to provide guidance and help. Means you can use them, and the idea is to have these research which is happening in various department and done by various faculty. If we can provide those research via a medium so that practitioners and decision makers can make use of those results. So they can be a specific data set, a value added information based on research, some results, or they can be an algorithm, or they can be a specific tool. So regional decision maker uh, actually was developed on the footsteps of local decision maker. Local decision maker was done specifically for Indiana. The data for all the 92 counties were included there, but that gave us an experience to handle and provide large data sets through internet. Not only data sets, but also tools so that a user can query or ask something on the internet, it goes to our server, brings back the result and serves it back. So the regional decision maker, because we had these national level grant and we had these data sets available at the national level, regional decision maker is being developed for all the 3,000 plus counties in USA. So the whole national data is now available. And the purpose is here to facilitate a regional planning view. And as you know that means regional planning can happen across county and state borders. Means there are many MPOs, metropolitan planning organizations, many economic development districts, and they cover more than one county, and their jurisdictions can cross the state borders. And then what we have done is we have incorporated specific national level data sets here. Some of the data sets are special, such as our PCRDs, industries, businesses, and occupation cluster. But then we will cover it later. The whole concept of cluster-based economic development is that you need to have a regional approach. So if you are looking into your industry clusters and occupation cluster, it's good to start with a region, a group of several counties, and then analyze what your strengths, weaknesses, and opportunity is. And then as we are developing these data sets, specifically for the Midwest, we have uh, we have done with various departments and faculty members, they have done quite a bit of research focusing on the Midwest. So there is very specialized data sets available, which we are planning to provide it through a RDM, the regional decision maker, as it can be useful for regional planning purposes. So now, what is the IARC tag team? You are all part of this technical advisory group. So what we are expecting is you are the early adopters of this RDM platform. You will be using that, this prototype system. You will be participating in that. You will be given access to these databases, the interactive system, and you will be completing some exercises and give us some feedback, like how easy or difficult is the interface, what do you think about the tools, and most importantly, are there some data gaps? Because as regional planners and other land use planner, transportation planner, they are working in their region, they might have very specific data sets which they want to include. They may want to include in the RDM website so that they can analyze those with respect to our own data sets, the cluster databases. So what will we cover? And this is for the whole series. This whole series, and which will be like a series of at least 5 or 6 webinars, and then also face-to-face meeting. Our project manager is Lee Llewellyn, and he will be contacting you and explaining you all the aspects of it. But we have divided this series in 2 modules. So the first module, and which the first module will commence from the next webinar, which will be a very detailed presentation on industry cluster analysis. So industry cluster are a group of industries and businesses which are linked through value and supply chain linkages, backward and forward linkages, and they also include the institution, the workforce development board, and all those things which constitute an industry cluster. And then second aspect will be occupation cluster. Occupation cluster is all about the knowledge and skills embedded within your workforce. So what kind of characteristic or specific skills workforce means your region has within your workforce? That's the human resource aspect of it. And the third thing that we will cover is what we call as OCIC matrices, or occupation cluster industry cluster linkages. This is a very specialized data set. It's no other university, no other institution has this linkage database, and we have developed it as a result of the grant, and it is available for every county in USA, and we want to include that in the RDM so that you can make use of it. So by this database, you can know, for example, you have a specific industry cluster where your region has a strength, such as transportation equipment manufacturing. It's a very important cluster in Indiana. With this database, you can know if a county is specialized in transportation equipment manufacturing, which means it is exporting to other counties, other states, or even out of USA. You can know which occupations are there in those industry cluster, so in your workforce. So what kind of IT people you have, what kind of information technology occupations you have, what kind of statisticians, data accounting, or big data analytical or engineering occupations you have. So this matrix, this intersecting database provides you information on that. And then module 2 onwards, we will be covering the tools and databases for regional planning elements, food systems. It has become very important in regional and community planning to assess the food system, and we have developed databases to analyze the food flows, farmers market. And then regional transportation, demographics, regional economy, land cover, land use, and biodiversity. So we will be covering these in detail. So we are anticipating that each module will be at least 2 or 3 webinars. So for example, in land cover and land use, we will be presenting one of our faculty members' research on land cover forecasting, which he has been doing it for the whole Midwest and also for the whole nation. And that's a very specialized technique he has developed, and it is being accessed by USGS and other federal organization also. So those data sets will be available to you, and we will be providing details on the research and on the tools that has been developed on those databases. What will be covered today? So today, is other than these general introduction, we will be giving you an introduction to the main website, which we are still developing, a bit of idea on the technology, all the tools that you will see. People who have GIS background in the audience, they will immediately understand. These are based on ESRI ArcGIS Server 10.1 platform, Flex Viewer. Adobe Flex is the front end. The Flex Viewer is the front end. All the tools that we are developing is based on Model Builder, and then customization, which is the Python programming. Now you don't need to know all these technical details, because the interface is very simple. You just need to click, use your mouse, but all these technology behind that will be doing the job for you. And then differences from other mapping engines. So one unique aspect is we are incorporating customized tools with our web-based databases. And then the common toolbox, which Andre will be covering in detail. I will be now handing over to Andre.
Right, thank you, Indranil. And some people had difficulties with hearing us, so we can actually initiate the conference call, and Indranil has But let me add to what Indranil said about the technology. So we have our own database. Uh, this database is sitting on our servers, so we fully control that database, and we can pull data and work with the data, do spatial analysis. Data comes from different federal agencies. Also, we do some in-house processing of the data, and sometimes interpretation of the data. And then the results of the data, the maps, are fed to web application, as Neil mentioned, based on Adobe Flex. So basically, this web application will work with any browser, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Firefox, whatever you use, it should be. First, let me actually switch to website and do overview of the website. So our map components actually complementary to our main web page, where you'll find a variety of information on different planning topics. This website is still under development, so if you go there, you'll see it will change often. And so this is beta version. And actually, I'd like you not to share this web address with anyone else outside of our tech group, because it's still under development, and we're changing a lot of things. So the website, actually, you can see the address in this, and I'll be sending this web address to you later in email. So on a main web page, on the top menu, you will see several items: planning topics, JS Atlas, tutorials. And actually, let me try and switch to the website. As I said, there will be so some of the links may not work right now, but there will be different components of planning. Yeah, actually, I'm almost touching the microphone. Sorry, my voice is pretty quiet. Now Indranil had this phone number, so you can dial in and. All right. So in the right column, you can see components of planning, and there will be explanation of data that we have, and the differences between different data. And you can also find information on how to use this data. On the left side, you could see different planning topics like corridor planning or food infrastructure analysis. Below, you'll find again different topics, and because we're gonna have feedback between microphones. All right. And below on the bottom, you can find like useful links, our sponsors, people who work with us, our partners, and links to their websites. In the top menu, you will find a link, and for the exercise that we're going to give you next time, you will need actually two links. First is the JS Atlas, and here you can find a list of mapping pages that are already available. And the exercise is actually an example of industry and occupation cluster link in the national data section. And the other link that you will need, and you're welcome to explore other web mapping web pages, just be aware that they may not work or may not be available. Again, this is a beta version, they still maybe unstable, or we just buy something. So the other link that you will need is tutorials link in the top menu. And when you click on tutorials, you'll see some tools to help you to learn how to use RDM. So there is a tool reference. There are text tutorials, and right now we have two of them, but we're working on adding more. Video tutorials, and again, it's just one link right now, but our intern is working on that tutorial section. And also exercises, and this is exercise 1 that will ask you to complete for the next before the next meeting. And actually, right now the link leads to tutorial page, so I will be putting exercise after our meeting. So on the click here, you'll get a PDF file with this exercise. Also, you can see this icon, and this is what we call map box, mapping sandbox. And when you click on that link, you will see a map that has only those tools that I explained in the tutorial. Just not to confuse users who are not familiar with JS, we kind of simplified that map and provided only tools that are available explained in the tutorial. About Us section talks who are on the team right now, what they do, what their contribution, what in general regional decision maker is. So now let's go to our training map. So I'm navigating to JS Atlas section, and I'm clicking on industry and occupation cluster. And this brings me to the web page. If you have problems when you click first and the map displays first time, if you don't see those icons on the top, you may need to reload the page. I'm not sure what the problem is right now, but sometimes we have a glitch. Just simply click and reload the page, and that should fix the problem. So let me start explaining you the map and common navigation controls. So map actually is somewhat similar to what you see in Google Maps. Which kind of makes it comfortable for people who use Google Maps or any other Bing Maps, any other map. Also, we have. So let me start with navigation tools first. So in the upper left corner, you'll see these navigational bars, and the top bar is actually allows you to move map in left, right, top, or bottom. Closer to the area. Also, you can use mouse wheel to zoom in or zoom out. Basically, it works in a very similar way to Google. Okay, now I'm centered on Indiana, and you can see now the topo map as our base map and map of counties and states. I can pan my map. You can also switch to zoom mode for your mouse. For example, zoom in mode right now. Just clicking on that icon, and then you get the cross. You click on any point and drag, holding mouse button, you drag this cross. use this very useful extend button, previous extend, and for example, you you zoom to a wrong area. So you click on that previous extend and you return to the map. Same way it works with next extend. Also, if you need to return to the full map, the initial map, you can globe or globe icon will bring you to the entire map that's available. By the way, our most of our data cover continental United States, Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. We don't have data. Generally, we don't have data for U.S. territory. Now let's also, in terms of navigation, yeah, you can see the scale bar here at the bottom, and also in the right. So if I zoom to Indiana State, and to do that, let me use next tool. So this is zoom to state tool. You click on that, and it's kind of quick zoom to the state that you need. If you work with local maps, with Indiana maps, it also has the similar tool to work. So I click on Indiana, and I'm quickly, and you can see that my overview map changed. Now it shows me my where my screen is. If you want to save your own area, say I'm interested in north central Indiana. Okay, so I'm using again my zoom in mode for my Carroll County area in northern Indiana. And I want to save this extend for my future search and quick navigation. So you can click this button here, add bookmark, and name bookmark will appear in your list, and you have control over this bookmark, so you can delete it when you don't need it. But this is valid only for the session that you're working in. Come back and open your browser later, it won't be there. It doesn't. Okay, next, let me explain you our layers and base maps. So here at the right, we have list of layers that's available. And right now we're looking at industry and occupation clusters maps. So layers, all map layers, they're arranged into groups that you can think as of folders in your computer files. So for example, administrative folder. You don't see this local. But if I zoom out, you can see that only map of states remains. Have map displayed, you need to check your map layer and also check your folder layer. Only that in that case you will see the map. Uncheck group layer, then you won't see the map. Of course, if you uncheck layer, then you won't see the layer. So this is how you control these layers. You can have a actually a pretty long list of these layers. So the other useful thing is that you can all these windows, they're movable. You can arrange them on your screen as you can also drag by this corner, lower right corner, and you can expand this layer if the name is too long. Also, you can close that layer, close that window, and then reopen that window from the top menu again. And all these windows, they remember your last settings. Whatever you have in this window, it won't disappear. Now, once you have your layer on, say now I'm looking at clusters, agricultural, agribusiness food processing technology cluster map by county. You can control the way this map looks. First, you can move up and move down all these groups of layers. This is important if you want to have, for example, your point map on top of your county map. Yeah, thanks for comment about icon directory. That's a good idea, and we'll work on that. So also you have ability to zoom to this layer if, for example, you're looking at the national map and you have a layer that has only data within one state or county, say. And the other useful option is transparency. So once you click on transparency, you have this bar. You can pull this button, and this way you change the transparency of your map. And this is useful when you want to look up what's underneath on your base map, for example. Or also, it could be useful if you want to print your map, but you don't want a background to be too busy. Let me demonstrate that by going and zooming to a little closer. And when you're in this very close mode, you can see labels. You start to see labels on your map. And they kind of blend with the background. So if I want to print that map, so this is the way you control your layers. And the other useful thing when you look at the maps is, of course, to have a legend. On your screen whenever you want. You can expand this window. And right now I'm looking again at the agribusiness clusters. And this explains to me how many jobs in what color range is. For example, Chicago area has more than 10,000 jobs in this county, in this particular cluster. And Tippecanoe County in Indiana, which whenever you add any additional maps, it dynamically changes, the legend dynamically changes, and you will see those layers in your list. Right now I'm seeing only my states, and let me add. Let me zoom in a little closer, and I will see they're not very discernible right now, but we'll work on that. But again, another way to look up where you are, change transparency of your map quickly where you are. So in Tippecanoe County, the range is 1,000, 5,000 jobs in this cluster. So this is the way you can interpret legend, and you can close whenever you don't need that legend. Now, the other thing is that you need to consider is base maps. And here we have a selection of 3 base maps. Although there are many maps available from Esri. And on some maps, on sub-mapping sites, you will see that. But right now we have topographic, background, imagery. So I would say, to my taste, topographic. And let me zoom again to the full Topographic is useful when you're looking at your maps and you want just to have some information. So this map is not very busy. It shows you some essential information, some natural features too. Um, if you want to look exactly at the road map, let me get rid of my cluster map just to see this. So this is road map, and this is very similar to what you've seen in Google Map or any other mapping app. It has more detailed information about roads and their classification, and some natural features too. Now the last map is imagery map, and this is satellite imagery. And this map, I would say, more useful when you look at some local area. Let me use my zoom in mode. This is zooms into Indianapolis, northern Indianapolis. For example, if you're looking at the county level data or maybe neighborhood data, this is particularly useful because again, if you let me put some layer on top, and of course our cluster data is county based, so it's a kind of coarse scale for imagery. But actually, a lot of detail in this imagery map, so it can be useful. Point data, or we have some data, for example, related to environmental data, dump sites, or say rare species that where you need to see. All right, so now we talked about layers, and let me look now at my PowerPoint and see what else I wanted to overview map, layers list, legend, and different backgrounds. Now let me explain pop-up charts that's available for this particular. Let me go back to say my central Indiana area. Switch my base map to this feature available, and you can see this feature in some other maps too. But whenever you have your mouse over any county in cluster maps and you click on that county, you would get temporal data actually, because we have several years of data for the clusters. And this way you can inspect temporal trend for this particular county. And actually we have another tool that allows you to look at the whole area, the whole region. So here what you see is a chart of temporal trend, and you can see employment in different for the different years. For industry clusters we have 3 years, so it's 2008, 9, and 10. You can see also state and county where it is, and right now, for example, for this county there is no specific temporal trend, but let me try something different. And switch to pen. So now I can pen my map. Click on some other county. Newton, nothing significant here. Let me go and click on what I've seen before is Kokomo region, no, central. transportation equipment manufacturing cluster. I think this one has. Yeah, this shows a pretty significant drop in employment. So something happened in that county. This is my. Um, you can see how just drops in that cluster. So this is the way you can look at the data. So this is pop-up feature, and it doesn't have any specific link like a tool on the menu bar. It's just clicking on the screen on that particular map feature. In this case, sometimes it could be a point feature. And let me go back again to my slide and see what else I have in my list. So this is the next tool that I want to cover is identify tool. And let me demonstrate how it works. So identify tool accessible from top menu. And it helps you to extract information about map objects, counties or some points or whatever you see on the map, line data like rivers. So you click on that icon and you see that window. So you have a selection of different selection modes actually. Point, line, and rectangle and polygon. Also, you can control layers that you want to get information from. But generally, I leave this all layers feature on all the time because you can also control this from your layer list. So for example, I want to see data for my, let's switch to some different cluster, biomedical and biotechnical cluster. So I'm using point mode for my identify tool, and I'm clicking on Miami County again. So I'm getting pop-up window with information about this cluster in this county, and also it appears in my main identify window. Now, and this is similar to this label, so it kind of duplicates that. But if you want to get information in a little bit different way, this is where it gets really useful. For example, I want to see and compare several clusters for that county. So I'm clicking on, for example, manufacturing clusters that I have. It's transportation equipment, manufacturing, fabricated metal, and primary metal manufacturing. So now all three maps on top of each other, but you'll see only the top map actually. And I'm clicking again on my, let me clear the previous search. So again, I'm using point mode and clicking on Miami County. Now I'm getting information about all these three clusters. And I see now that there are no jobs in primary metal manufacturing cluster, 274 jobs in fabricated metal product manufacturing, and 8 jobs in transportation equipment manufacturing for this county. The other way of using the tool is to have one cluster displayed, for example, transportation equipment manufacturing, and use polygon tool to outline a region of your interest. For example, I want these counties as my, and when you do that, when you draw your polygon, it should just touch those counties that you want to display. So I just off my cluster map so that you can see this region better. And you can see that list. So this is the list of counties that I have in my region. And you can see jobs in any of these counties. And you can compare them side by side, how many jobs in that particular cluster is for. You can do it potentially for several clusters, but then you're going to get this very long list, and it will be hard to look at that. So this is our For example, I have this area that I want to print, and we'll talk next time about how to add some graphics on top of your map, so you can actually define graphically boundaries of your region and put some labels actually. But right now, I want to demonstrate how to print the map, the current look of your map. So there is a tool again in the top menu that says Print Map, and it gives you a variety of options. So you can type your title, some meaningful title, your name. Copyright notice is already here, but if you need to change it, you can change it too. Then there is an option of layout templates, and this print tool has a variety of options. You can print actually pretty large maps like A3 size. So there are a variety of maps. I don't think it has a poster size map, but that actually can be changed. And if there is a need for that, we can actually change that and add the option for posters, a poster sized map. But generally, for common printing, you would need to choose either letter A landscape or letter ANSI A portrait. This is your standard letter sized page. Let me select landscape. Now, in terms of formats, you can print this as a PDF file. You can print this as a PNG file. PNG is an image file that you can insert in your Word document. Also, there are some other formats, JPEG file. These are image formats that you can use in your presentation. So let me select PDF for now, and also you can change scale of your map. And this is useful, for example, I'm not sure if I'm going to see my labels on the map right now, because they're said to be visible at the scale or below the scale. So let me make this scale a little lower, 1 to 1 million. Now I'm clicking print, and it will take a few seconds, and you will get a map that you wanted. And I do have my labels now on map. And again, here you probably may want to set the transparency of your map to opaque, because it kind of makes the map busy. But if you like it this way, you can leave it like that. Also, don't forget to disable or allow pop-ups from our website, because otherwise you won't see that map. It will be blocked because this appears as a pop-up in a separate tab. Yeah, for image it works exactly the same way. So if you want to save this map, you can, I guess, any browser will give you an option to save it if it's a PDF file. But if it's an image file, let me print this file as a PNG 32 option. And let's see, now I'm working in Mozilla Firefox. So this is my image, and then you will have to use a browser option, copy image or save image as, and save it to your local drive, and then later use in your presentation. Also, so the map has right now it has this map area. It has legend, so layers that you have displayed in the list of layers. Also, it has a scale and also sources of data. So all data, I mean all sources for all data that are used in that map are listed here. Some of them come from Esri. Some of these data sources come from us. So you'll see the whole list here. So now I'm closing my maps. Yeah, be aware that once you close that map, printed map, you will not be able to open it again. Closing my print map window. I think now we're at the end of today's presentation. Let me give you just brief kind of sneak peek to our next presentation. We'll cover some additional tools in our presentation. We have a variety of them. And so we'll cover them, explain how to use them on the example of probably industry clusters first. Also, I would like you to go to our website, and as I said, go to tutorial sections, download PDF of this exercise, go through the steps. If you need additional help, there is the exercise is based on tutorial 1, this tutorial. So you can again open this PDF file and familiarize yourself with these tools and steps how to do that. There is also a map that will have only those tools that I used in this tutorial. Once you go through tutorial, then you should be able to complete this exercise 1. And as a result of this exercise, we're asking you to answer a few questions, actually 5 questions that are actually based on the information that you can extract from the map. And also print a map. So if you please send us, you can type it in Word document, answers to these questions, and attach this file to your email and attach your printed map, PDF file or image, doesn't matter. And also give us some feedback, how easy it was to use, what was challenging. So we have all these available. Guys, I have those questions. Help us to improve this tools. Web address, I will send web address to Lily Allen, web address for our main page, and also direct address for tutorials page and JS. So you'll have these web addresses, and once you have this web link, you should be able to download this file. It's a pretty small file. Let me actually open tutorial, click on the PDF file, so it opens in a separate window. So this is how tutorial looks like, and exercise will look in a pretty similar way. It's just a few pages that will guide you through the steps that I've just covered. A little later, we're going to have video tutorials on the same topic with actually closed captioning. So we're trying to make it accessible as possible for people. Also, please keep in mind that we're trying to design those tutorials and exercises just with unexperienced JS user in mind. So if you have some JS background, it should be actually fairly easy for you to go through this step, which we also would like to know, how easy was the exercise and to go through these steps. Right, now I'm on my last slide, and I'm passing my word to Indranil.
Thank you, Andre. As Andre was speaking from my station, I was using his computer and I tried to answer some of the questions which came forward. And there are a couple of very good ideas, and we will follow on those ideas. For example, Zoom Prospector. So in the coming webinars, there will be demonstration of more specialized tools. There was a very good question on if we delineate a region, can we aggregate the data? Yes, you can do that. And in the beginning, in the PowerPoint, we explained to you that we are providing different ways to delineate the region and aggregate the data. One way is to combine the counties. One way is to combine other kind of polygons or geographic regions like watersheds and things like that. Another way is to look into corridor regions. So for example, Indiana has already two corridor level studies going on, Innovation Corridor I-69 and US 31. They are also looking in terms of the corridor. So yes, you can delineate, identify the corridor and start aggregating data and analysis at various levels. So today's presentation was a 101 level course, a simplified introduction to the basic tools. These tools will be available in all the websites. So the procedure to print and zoom and pan and identify will be available in all the interactive system that we will be presenting in the coming webinars. Now with this, we will like to open the forum for question and answer. So if you have any question, please type in the chat box. We will try to answer, or you can use the conference call also.
This is Peggy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Will you make this PowerPoint that as well?
Yes, actually, yes, yeah, we will do that after the webinar, and also the handout was already sent yesterday.
Okay. Okay, this is Ed speaking. All I'm encouraging folks to do is, and Mary, thank you very much for your to give us as much feedback as they can on the content. Very helpful to us.
And also, as you perform exercise 1, if you have question, any question, all of our email addresses are on the last slide. So you can email to Andre or me or anyone, Lee or Ed, and then we will try to answer it. We are here to help you. And then if you have ideas to improve the exercise or even on the data or any type of tool, any idea, please send those to us. We will keep it on for a few more minutes and maybe 2-3 more minutes, and maybe you may have a question or idea even later. So please feel free to let us know.